Hey, welcome to the No Stay Project live from Jackalope 2016. And we're in Bacchus Meadow. This is Calvin's first time.
Yeah, I'm a Jackalope newbie, but yeah, it's beautiful. It's, you know, you've been to one Freedom Festival, you really haven't been to them all. They're all a little different in their own respect. And Bacchus Meadow out here in the Jackalope Fest is pretty low key. Maybe a few more bugs around than the normal festival, but hey, they live with us, not against us here.
Yeah,
so.
Well, you know, we had the monsoon, so it was a lot of rain, so they might have brought them out. But hey, it's better.
Hey, them and the anarchists.
Hey, I'd rather be doing the show here than at home.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll
it feels like Missouri out there.
Yeah, I know we joke around. It's a dry heat in Phoenix, and it usually is. But you came at the wrong time. You brought, you know, Missouri.
Yeah, the humidity with me.
With you, but what I'll do.
You guys can use it.
What I'll do is I'll show in the video a pan, so you can see where this meadow is absolutely beautiful. A lot of bugs, but hey, you know, it's better than having the BLM over here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so apologize we didn't have another live broadcast.
These guys can't subpoena you, you know.
Yeah, that's they can't use a gun.
Yeah, we would be doing the show live today normally, huh?
Yeah, and I know we've been out of town for most of the summer, but we'll have a new show next week that we'll record before you go back home.
You say that now.
It doesn't always seem to work out that way, but yeah, but a lot of stuff still going on. So we're gonna talk to Alma, who really she's the one who does this with her husband. She puts this on. She's done this
beautiful job.
It's great. It's 5 years now. It's the 5th year. I've been here for 4. So hopefully next year will be your second.
And it's Raymond for that.
Yeah, and it's even bigger than last year, which is cool. So it's going. I still, for those who want, we still want to do something in Mesa. Once a month, do a live broadcast, and of course have a blues jam after that. So if anyone knows of a place in the East Valley here in Mesa, Phoenix area, let me know.
Yeah, listen up and let us know.
Yeah. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to talk to Adam Kokesh also.
Yeah, Adam's here. He's on to a few things. Unfortunately, I guess we won't have a speaking engagement in front of the bureaucrats. But,
no, we were. I know I just told you this morning, the August 9th hearing date has been postponed to September.
Shucks, no bureaucrats. Shucks.
Well, they weren't going to let us film it anyway.
They weren't going to let us?
No.
They weren't?
No.
It was not going to happen.
They said we can get an audio.
Never going to happen.
But they would not allow audio or video recording of our own.
And when they don't allow things, it just never happens.
Well, it's an administrative hearing. I think after what happened with that video,
Katie barred the door. Just no records could be. No one can have any third-party records.
Oh, you got to pay. You got to pay for theirs. Well, considering, and I'll talk with Adam about this too. Considering that the entire Board of Supervisors has been subpoenaed to appear, because not only can they admittedly.
Gonna ruin a few fishing trips there.
Yeah, admittedly cannot prove the laws apply to Adam because he's physically in Arizona. But then they're going to have to explain why, knowing that the one who initiated the attack, David Williams, knowing that he couldn't prove it, why do they allow it to escalate? So I can understand knowing that those are,
How are you going to answer that?
Yeah, well, why don't we just do a continuance and see if the parties can settle?
Well, it saves egg on their face.
The easiest thing, the best thing to do would be to just look. And this is what they should have done. We don't have any evidence now. And Jack Smith, who is the chairman of the Board of Supervisors of Yavapai County, he said that's what he was going to do. He was going to talk to David Williams, and it wouldn't escalate until they had evidence. I mean, that's the rational, right? You got to have evidence. So he didn't keep his word, though. He wasn't a douche. It was a douche move not to keep his word, but he wasn't a jerk on the phone. That was David Williams.
What a gentleman, take you out for a dinner before he rapes you.
Well, maybe at the time he honestly thought that he was going to help intervene.
Well, you'd hope it also shock his conscience when, that doesn't happen, when what he promises doesn't happen. But no, he just rolls with the punches, no follow through and just another day at work.
Well, I like to think that what's happening is that, and this is a common thing where I always suggest that what we do is, if you can't get it resolved at the lowest level, try to go to the supervisor and get some intervention, see if they can help. And a lot of times it does work.
Right.
But here, I think what's happening is David Williams probably said, look, this Kokesh guy is just one of these sovereign citizen lunatics. And this idiot from Phoenix is even worse. Don't listen to him. The laws apply, you know they do, you don't have to prove it, it's common knowledge.
So they just shut him down, huh?
So you say, well, you know, that makes sense. I do know that the laws apply, but just because I can't prove it doesn't mean that they don't.
Right.
Which is true. Just
gives them a back door, you know.
It gives them so just because I or you or someone that we call and they can't prove it on the spot like that, that's not proof that the laws don't apply.
That's real Looney Tunes, though, because what it's like Looney Tunes where they had that black portal like your banner back here looking nice.
Yeah.
They just throw that up and walk right through and disappear from the question.
And then they can pull it off the wall.
Right, and then it just never happened. The situation never exists and never have to answer the question or provide the evidence.
Well, the honest ones, the ones I believe are honest, that want to do the right thing, get bewildered. This is what so the famous one that I always hear from.
Is that a synonym for not promoted?
Yes, I think so. The ones who are asking questions.
Right.
Because what they'll say to me is, well, there has to be proof. It has to. There has to be proof. Do you have any? Those are the ones that will usually keep their word when they're going to not escalate. Because it's usually not a supervisor that's saying that to me. So the ones that generally are confused and, yeah, I think it's a safe thing to do. Let's just back off. So what David Williams should have done was, whoa.
Well, that's reasonable people right there.
Reasonable.
You go up the chain, and then what happens? See, that reason just gets a little thinner.
Well, here the board, the chairman was the reasonable one. It was David Williams who wasn't, and I'm sure it was David Williams and his supervisor. No, this guy Marc Stevens, he's an idiot.
An idiot, all right.
He's an idiot.
Well, I'd rather be an idiot than without the evidence. Color me an idiot.
I might be an idiot, but he still doesn't have evidence. My being an idiot, let's just say that's a given.
Hey, what does that say about you if an idiot is making you stumble? Right? That's not a good compliment to yourself.
I'm stumping him. I'm the idiot. You should be able to answer the question. But that would have been the right thing to do. I have, and I didn't talk to Adam about this yet. It would be Adam's place to do this, but I do have the documentation to file a claim against their risk management already.
Okay,
so depending on how this goes, I would encourage him and anyone else. I'm talking about a claim against the insurance.
Oh, you have that ready for them?
Well, I have that, yeah. And what I need to do is I need to do an article and let people know, and maybe put, it's impossible to put a lot of links in, but I can put links in for the ones that we have been involved with, so that other people, can at least see the process.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's ever asked you this, but do you have a template for those complaints to file against risk management? Do you, I don't know that they're on your website, but do you?
I have something. I'll have to edit names out and put that in.
Maybe that could be a part of the motion dismiss package, because inevitably it might get to that point for, let's say, a certain percentage of the people using the motion.
It's like I don't send the appeal notice out with the motion to dismiss, because
I guess it's bad advertising.
I don't want people thinking that it's a foregone conclusion. Most of these are resolved. Most of them are.
Yeah.
You can speak from personal experience, because when I don't get the documents, like with Joe in Hawaii, who we'll talk about, when I don't get that, I usually forward the email to you and JT, because I don't have a document, and I'm not going to get it. So I forward it to you guys, and yes, I do take out the email address and the last name. So you guys have known over the years, there's been dozens and dozens and dozens that I've sent where people that tell me what happened, but I don't have a document. And I can't prove it. But there's enough on the website now.
Yeah, we don't even need that. The success story section on the website is too deep. If for any critics out there that are criticizing you that it doesn't work in court, they just haven't been to the website. So
no. Well, and that's one of the things I wanted to address when we talk about Joe's stuff, is that even when the evidence is absolutely overwhelming, and they still have to marginalize or say that had nothing to do with me. The motion has been granted. The judge is granting. No. And that's just a matter of, that's the three monkeys on the back of Adventures. No. and the only response I had...
Go take that shovel and bury the truth out there, you know?
My only response to that is, I'm a found goal to people who do. If you're going to do that, found goal. Yeah,
it is a pretty bastard move.
Well, it's just, what you're doing is you're closing your mind to any other plausible or any possibility that there's only one explanation. So what I mentioned, there was a movie, I think it was on Joan of Arc, and Dustin Hoffman is in it. And I think he plays a monk. And he's asking her about her vision or something that happened. And she says it's a vision from God. And it's like, why did you latch onto that one? And only that one. And so that's what I look at with these people. Why are you looking at what is happening where a motion to dismiss is granted, and why is it only one possibility? One!
Right.
Why? Is your mind so closed, or is your hate for anybody who disagrees with you so great that you can't even allow the possibility? There's only one possibility, really, given the evidence?
Well, where are the incentives, though? Do you have no incentive to think differently?
The incentive is if they allow for the possibility that I'm right, that the motion was granted because the motion was granted, because it was the motion that did it, then they have to go back.
But for the motion.
But for, right. And that's a great point you just made. But for the motion, would this have been dismissed? I mean, it boggles the mind to think the mental gymnastics that these look, and it's not like some libertarian activists or anarchist I only have a handful of critics that are so violent or vile.
Probably both.
It's not that many. Yeah, it's not that many. but to have it so that your mind is so closed, you don't even allow for the possibility. Really? This is what I think. I think that they are so petty. And like I mentioned, you cannot even admit the possibility. It's not even possible that I'm right. It's not even possible that the judge granted the motion based on the motion. So if you stack the circumstantial evidence and you use what you just said, the but-for standard, which is a standard I think we all agree with.
We all understand simple
logic.
Right.
But for A, would there be B? If you look at the fact that the motion to dismiss was granted, it was opposed or unopposed.
Right.
Even if it's unopposed, that doesn't mean the judge has to grant it. He can just, it's garbage.
Right.
It's trash. But he's not. So, the evidence is too much. MarkStevens.net, on the success stories, there's just too much at this point. It's beyond any reasonable doubt that not only is there a ton of merit, it's been replicated on 3 continents, and yes, even Israel, right? I keep mentioning that. You have to remember that it's even in Israel we've had things thrown out. There's a reason for that, and that's because using the Socratic method is rational and it's effective.
Well, it yields results. Either someone's right or wrong at the end of Socratic questioning. It's not interpretive like law. And we're very familiar with the need to be right. It's a sickness of the mind. It's been said once or twice before on the show. Maybe in this case, the need not to be wrong is the sickness of the mind, because it's not necessarily that they're confirming or denying who's right, but they just don't want to say they're wrong here. So they don't want to admit that what worked.
Yeah.
So maybe a slight modification to that very enlightened quote, but I think that's what's going on here, is that these guys have egos and incomes that they just aren't going to subject to criticism, unlike us, is correct as we may be and have proven ourselves to be, and the records speak for themselves. We open ourselves up to criticism. We don't shy away from it. We open ourselves up to thought, to other alternatives and explanations. You're not getting that in the courtrooms. They only want to stick to one explanation, never admit anything else. And are you getting justice in this circumstance, in these situations? Absolutely not. So hopefully the trend is that people see that there cannot never be justice in a system where you have the state as an arbiter. Those people who take money violently to support themselves, they're never going to provide a fair hearing. So, hopefully people come to realize this and seek alternatives or other options to where we don't have to rely on the state to mediate these disputes and bring justice. Maybe people will be so sick of this, or maybe enough people will be shot on the roadside one day to where an alternative starts to look good.
Yeah, and the original point, I do have motion, I have the appeal, which if someone needs it, then I send it. I don't want to send it right off the bat. And I don't send the motion for reconsideration unless somebody needs it. But maybe the motion for reconsideration makes more sense to put in there because chances are they may deny the motion. A lot of tickets have been tossed out because the cop didn't show up after the whole discovery process. Right. And I know that, it didn't mean that there was any merit. Why would the cop give up overtime like that? And why would it be so consistent? I purposely send the motion to dismiss and the discovery request to the police officer so he knows what to expect. He's under subpoena. And we've had more than one people testify on the show that they saw the cop there for other trials.
Right.
So this idea that they're blowing off an entire day or half a day of court, missing how much overtime?
Right.
No, I don't buy. Some cases, but not all of them. We're working with too many people.
Well, it goes to show you can't pay them to look like an idiot. Maybe something kicks in and they just not want to answer the questions and not be subject to looking like a fool on the stand, not knowing the answer. Yeah. Maybe that's it. Because Lord knows they're going to make enough money.
Sure.
Being in it with the overtime. So it certainly isn't the financial. Or maybe, hopefully, it's a shock of conscience. Maybe they say, you know what, maybe they're bringing up a good point, and I can't honestly answer this question, so I'm going to take the path of least resistance and not necessarily admit that I'm wrong, but just let's leave it open and unresolved, and they'll kick it out, and nothing will become of it.
It's just a $200 ticket.
Once someone else like you or someone, whoever's being attacked leaves court, there's plenty of other easy money out there, other fish to catch.
Yeah.
Why go after the whale when you can feed yourself with salmon all day?
Yeah, so they skip out with trials and then just go back for the easy pickings. So, and I'll mention this again later, but the idea that I'm just too much trouble, we're causing too much trouble. Why is it too much trouble just to put the evidence on the table and hold the prosecution to the burden of proof?
Is it too much trouble to put the bloody knife on the table from a murder victim? It never is.
Just let it go.
In fact, if it is too much trouble, guess what you don't have? The evidence you need to prosecute your case.
You don't have a solid,
So, if we were to use their arguments, it's not too much trouble. They put the murder weapon on every conviction. Let me not get ahead of my words. I mean, I'm sure there have been people convicted without a murder weapon in sight. However, it has to be proven with evidence.
But they still are going to use circumstantial evidence. Even in weak cases, they're still going to present circumstantial because they're not going to get past a grand jury and they're not going to get past a motion to quash if they don't have at least a substantial circumstantial.
There you go. There's a little tongue twister for you.
And I'm from Long Island, I got that. So they're going to have something.
Hey, you got a driver's license, don't you?
Well, some things you're forced to do.
Well, there's your evidence. There's your argumentum ad baculum right there.
Having a driver's license after all those years, I had to, and it was not by choice. It never is by choice. But
sir, no amount of evidence will satisfy. Your question.
After 12, 13 years without it, things got to it. Hey, I was stalked by Mesa PD. I've had my life threatened by Mesa PD. So things got kind of ugly there. So I did have to go back and get it. But it doesn't mean anything. But it keeps me from being murdered on the side of the street, which has almost happened. I've had quite a few run-ins with Mesa PD, and these are not stable individuals.
Yeah, for anyone who thinks that Mesa is a small city, coming into town last night, when you come up, it tells you how many exits the town is on any of these interstates. Mesa, next 15 exits off 60. So Mesa's quite the bureaucracy, and when they want you, they'll get you. And if you could avoid them, good on you. You might know a thing or two about a thing or two.
Yeah. So I should put the motion for reconsideration in, and it's just a template. But we always have the same thing. If they deny the motion to dismiss, this is something that's very important. The motion to dismiss is based primarily on issues of fact.
Right.
There isn't sufficient evidence to set forth a valid cause of action. There isn't sufficient evidence or any evidence to prove territorial and personam jurisdiction.
Mixed with some of their own opinions.
Yeah. And so when they do deny it, they don't ever give evidence. They'll give citations if they respond at all. Mm-hmm. So the motion for reconsideration, it's an objection, a motion for reconsideration, and it's just going through that the judge is arbitrarily doing this because there's nothing in the record. All you have is so-and-so was on on 60, and he violated the code. That's an accusation. It's a legal conclusion. I saw him violate the code at 11 o'clock. Whatever, So there's no actual evidence that the code applies.
So they come at you with a legal citation, right? that'll stop a lot of people right there. They'll say, oh, well, this is it. What do I do now? They'll fumble and they say, well, they provided me something, and they won't quite know what to do next. And I think that the art in litigation is to be able to counter non-responsiveness. Yeah, they've answered your question, but and this is why it's important when in the role playing, it's very important, is you need to be able to instinctively counter non-responsiveness. They will always give you some form of an answer. It's on you to realize, is that responsive to what you're asking? Are they giving you the evidence that you're seeking? Just giving you a legal citation, or saying it's your driver's license, or saying you're within you're within a certain territorial jurisdiction within their gang lines. It doesn't fulfill evidence to prove that there's an obligation that their laws and codes apply to you. So in court, I think a lot of people get hung up on not being able to catch their non-responsive answers. They'll get an answer from them and get confused, or that's their point of failure, is when they come back with something. And some people, and I'm not saying everybody, because we've had plenty of success and it's been documented online. You can look up plenty of videos, like on Ian Freeman's administrative DMV hearing. You got plenty of non-responses, and I think that's a great example among many others of how you come back and how you counter their non-responsives. And so for anyone out there who hasn't been to court yet and is looking forward, or is looking to go to court, learn your logical fallacies, but also learn to recognize a non-response. So with these legal citations, most people get those.
Right. Well, it was a good example of the non-responsiveness is that attorney in Canada that called a shame. I said, will you be responsive? And she said, I will respond. I went, well, you've got a Juris Doctor degree. You know the difference between the two. And she agreed. She admitted anyway. She didn't want to answer because she didn't want to be held. It's like, so you don't want to be held to keeping your word. That if you're going to tell me to put it in writing, you're not going to give me your word. You're going to be responsive. So you don't want me. Again, Abba Funko.
Right. That's coming from them first, anyway.
That is what they're saying to you. When they say put it in writing and I will respond, but they won't say whether they'll be responsive. They say Abba Funko. They're not going to answer you. How many times have we been through it?
What they've done is they've created a whole different language to say F you. And and they say it so many ways with their non-responsiveness here.
Yeah, so recognizing that whether it's responsive or not is very important.
I got to say that call of shame right there with the Canadian agent there, or the attorney, that was the best. When she would not commit to giving you a responsive answer. I'll give you an answer, but she will not say that she won't give you a responsive answer. That's got to be the best example of how crooked and how lacking in good faith they are when they're corresponding with you, when they're interacting with you. They can't even, like some other politicians and bureaucrat, commit to being truthful. Who does that remind you? I mean, it reminds you of a lot of politicians, but some more than others here.
Yeah, but that said everything we need to know about how this woman was, and she's still to this day.
But that was a one-off. Those other agents don't think like that, do they?
Some of them actually want to honestly respond, and then when they're off the phone and they realize, oh my gosh, this is not a matter of research. Because I had to tell one in Maine, I said, I will put it in writing, okay? But I'm telling you right now, and I'll put it in writing also, I'm asking you a question of fact. Don't give me a legal citation. Don't give me your opinion. Don't quote your code. We already know that your code is not evidence that the Constitutional. You just agreed to that. So don't waste my time. I don't want to hear, oh, I'm not. And what do we get? Almost every time we'll get a form letter giving me a statute. It's like, wait a minute. How is your statute, and this is again your Socratic method, it's nothing to be, nothing to stress about. When they say that the code, because it's all they have, when they say that the code is evidence that the Constitution applies, just do like what I suggest, the Socratic method. How so? How does your statute prove the Constitution applies?
Right, that's not simple. Break it down for me. I mean, it's either complex or circular logic. I'll give you the benefit of a doubt here that it's just complex.
Yeah. You're the expert.
Right.
You're the one who's enforcing this code. You tell me, how does the code prove the Constitution applies? So I did a video about that. Also, like you look at the statute, and then I'll say to them, and you try to be nice to them. Like, do you want me to read the statute or do you want to read it? And you can then point out to me which part of it says it proves the Constitution applies to me.
Right.
It's no. We don't need to read it. Yes, because you know you're at least the one that I was just referencing up in the Northeast. There, she knew. She admitted you're right. Oh, right. The Constitution is proof for the code. I know. But we still on that one have not got our foam letter back.
Well. That's a good sign. I mean, you know, they're not
escalating it. Yeah, and they're not
jerking you either.
Well, we do have a stay, so that there's not going to be an escalation until they can be responsive. So those I get a lot of it. You know, we do tend to get a lot of that, which is great. So you've got a human being with some kind of conscience at the end, like, yeah, the laws absolutely have to apply. I'll get you that proof. Okay, just don't escalate it until you do. Okay, great. So we're good. So I don't care. Take the rest of your natural life looking for it. I already know what that. Well, no, I should just say I'm almost certain the evidence doesn't exist.
Right.
But I'll hold out the possibility because I don't want to come off like a douchebag.
Yeah.
But look this way. The evidence would have to overcome the proof we already have, and that is that they are forcing everyone to pay them. That is absolutely irrefutable. That is the absolute. That's true.
Right.
That's demonstrably true.
It's just a fact.
It's just a fact.
Right.
It's just like, you know, like with biology. We both have XY chromosomes, and the women have XX. That's just a fact.
Yep. You're not giving your money; it's being taken.
So you're being they're forcing strangers to pay.
You may be happy about the money being taken. Some people are, or say they are.
They say they are.
But
but then people can falsely testify all the time. You have to look at the evidence, and you have to look at the full context.
That's right.
Someone
if you love your money being taken.
Just call me.
Have an orgasm all over my face right now. Just give it to you. Sorry to ruin the pride.
Oh my God.
Just let it all on.
It all hangs out here in Jackalope, 2016.
And this is before the festivities here, but
yeah.
But just let it all out, you know, if that's what it takes for you.
Because you have Stockholm syndrome that explains. Because this way you can have rape victims that will claim that they enjoyed it. Yeah,
right.
Well, no, you don't have a choice. And when you don't have a damn choice, I don't believe you for a second when you say, even if somebody is into rough sex, I don't believe them if they're raped and they say they enjoyed it. No.
Right, yeah.
I have to look at the totality.
Because you'll walk in the door and you'll go get your rough sex. You won't have someone coming without you asking and giving it to you, right?
Right.
You know?
So you got to look at all the context as much as it's available, and because you didn't have a choice, I can't believe you when you say you enjoyed it. So the fact that people I'm happy to pay taxes, no, until you're given a freely given choice on whether you're going to pay, your testimony is guts. It's nothing. I'm getting a lot of the Sicilian that you got.
Yeah, I think this podcast might get popular out there.
We have a Carini.
And the mob there, you know. Hey, look at this little guy over here. You know?
Well, that's what you want to say to them. You want to say that, hey, my motion to dismiss is based on the fact that the prosecutors got ugats, you know. But that's true. They have nothing.
Right.
As far as my Sicilian dialect there, I believe that ugats means you got nothing. It's the George Costanza, if he was Sicilian.
Yeah, he could have dropped that on us. You know, you said back with this lady that maybe she had a shock of conscience and she she didn't spit you back the form letter right away because, and it makes me think that we rely an awful lot on their conscience. And how much better would it be if the whole system was ran? And sometimes this sounds cruel to say this because it's cold, but how much better would it be if it was run by robots? You don't have the evidence, you stop right there. But the reality is it's run by sociopaths. So instead of people being making cold decisions based on the facts, you just have people who want to take your money, who want to take your happiness, do not want to be criticized, do not want to be objected to, and have a cushy life, basically victimizing the entire population. And that proves it's psychopaths, because if they were just robots, if they were just automatons, then they would stop when they don't have what they say that they need. And it'd be so much better if what we understand as government and how it exists today was run by robots, because you would have at least the abuse would be black and white. It wouldn't be whenever they feel like, because that's what you get now. You get whatever they feel like, and it's too bad they just couldn't be robots. Huh?
Well, you remind me that before I was really knew you well, JT was always my go-to guy. And JT, maybe next year.
Hey, we're
buddy.
missing you. Where you at?
I know, I haven't had contact with. So, that's a good place to
Odin
pause.
has spoken.
Oh.
Odin speaks.
Odin speaks. So we're back. We're going to have to move that back there. But hey, you know, you can read the whole thing now. Just to finish up this part, we mentioned JT. Got to be here next time. The franchise tax board actually made this. You know, they haven't learned yet. When they make a certain excuse or they kick the can, I'm going to eliminate that as an option. So I had, you know, they had said it's the computer.
Okay.
So everyone that gets put into the computer, everyone that's where the reporting is done, which the reporting is on threat, duress, and coercion, is automatically classed as taxpayer subject to the law. So we had, get me in touch with the guy who programmed your computer. So JT had formulated these IT programming questions.
Okay.
Taking what I generally do
Just
in
going
court.
step by step and working your way up, you know, following the code back, right? Tracing the code.
And how, basically in a nutshell, was it programmed to make a distinction between taxpayers and non-taxpayers? Or is it just arbitrary?
What is your guess today? Answer that question.
Well, I know.
If you had to look in your crystal ball, how do you think those programmers qualify a taxpayer?
I think it's best that you're all taxpayers.
Right. That's probably the algorithm.
So
they're within this territory right here. That's our game.
You're all ours. So we never got a response to that.
You pay your protection. That's what you
right.
do. You pay your protection, or else we'll. Hey, we won't break your knees, but we'll put you in that court, and hey, you'll wish your knees were broken.
You buy this effing protection, I'll break your freaking head.
Hey, it's a protection racket, and it's the best one. Why not laugh at it?
I had troubles over there, Paul. Well, we got to kind of wrap up this segment. So hopefully, well, we can always edit this appropriately. So whoever we speak to next, that's who's going to be up. But I think we're going to probably have Avenue Kokesh shop because he's going to be speaking soon, and then I'm going to follow him here at Jackalope 2016. So we'll talk more later also about, I want to talk specifically about Joe so we can get the video for Joe up and the documentation that this is not a parking ticket. This is not a traffic ticket. This is...
So when this video is uploaded, there's going to be an image of Joe's paperwork in with the video, right? It's going to be spliced in there?
It's going to be somewhere.
We won't be able to see this beautiful banner. We'll see Joe's beautiful dismissal.
The beautiful dismissal. Hawaii dismissal, not a parking ticket, not a traffic ticket. So these people that say, well, it's never been more serious than a traffic ticket. Like, we had Randy in Idaho, felony possession thrown out at the prelim. So, that's not. But this is just another one that we could put on that huge pile of what we like to call evidence.
Huh. There goes that goalpost.
Yeah.
There goes the goalpost.
I can hear it now.
Right.
But Joe did get very serious marijuana charges thrown out. And as we'll see, and you'll see in the graphic, it's without prejudice, but I don't think it's...
Hey, let me ask you, Mark, while we're on this topic real quick. We have a minute. If there was never a dismissal based on the motion to dismiss, would that invalidate the question? Would that suggest that there is evidence? Would it still be a valid question? Because I think that's the fact that we've had complaints thrown out validates the answer to the question. I think the results speak for themselves. There is no evidence, and we can say that because they've just dismissed the case instead of produced the evidence. They've never produced the evidence. But my question is say we don't have any of that.
Yeah.
10 years into asking the questions, does that mean that there's no evidence? I have my opinion, but how would you rationalize that away?
If I'm understanding you correctly, I think we mentioned before, the fact that there's no evidence is because they force us to pay them. That's the
right.
evidence that their laws don't apply. So whether we get it thrown out in court or not, the logic and the evidence and the rationale stands on its own 2 feet. It doesn't matter if someone agrees. The fact that a judge doesn't agree with the logic doesn't make it any less logical. It doesn't make it any less evident. And it doesn't overcome the fact that they are just forcing us to pay them.
So for you critics out there who say, oh, well, you're hung up on, does this work? Even if there is no evidence, which there is, it's just clicks away. You have to be able to burn 10 calories to get there. But if the evidence is there, but even if it didn't, right, there's other ways to prove that their laws don't apply, and we don't need, just because you refuse to look at the evidence, you're just refusing to think logically and consistently. You know, because if you did, the same lack of evidence would be proven.
They excuse it. Now I'm going to talk about this with Joe's letter, Joe's dismissal. They rationalize the complete lack. So you've got all this evidence, which includes a Supreme Court Chief Justice and a federal magistrate and a law professor from Canada. You have all these not showing that there's no evidence. Zero. So what do? What did you say about the goalpost? We don't need evidence. What?
After you just said we have.
So it is it's a big abafangul to us.
That's right.
Where they say, oh, you're asking for evidence where none is required.
Oh, you're not bilingual. You don't understand legalese. Well,
I understand. Oh, Mark, you're retarded.
Right.
You think there needs to be evidence to prove an accusation. See, we're different. We're the hand of Odin, which just spoke. Right?
We're pushing back. Look at that. That thing could go sailing if it weren't for us.
It's like Odin himself has written these laws and constitutions and given it to mere mortals. And no, that is so effing stupid. That's why the best response is afafango.
And that's a response to their response. You know, you're asking a fair question. They're giving you the afafango, and you're just returning. It's a counter insult. Some people say, well, why do you want to go insult them? Well, hey, it's coming right at me. And hey, look, they're trying to destroy my life or take my money or something.
They're attacking me. But even if you look at the critics, they are backing them, and they usually are participating in those attacks. And it's not that I'm trying to insult them personally. It's their argument. It's their position. It's constantly moving the goalposts. It's not being able to just look at the evidence and say, you know what, Mark, you are a raving lunatic. But this document that came from the court that's unredacted, I gotta give it up here. There's something. I am not saying you're right, but there's something unusual going on here.
Right.
But they can't even give. So it's the fact that I'm pissing on, in a sense, their lack of rationale and how they move the goalposts and how the best they can do. Like when I did the video about Adam, is I'm called a cuck faggot. And a hook nose.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, I don't. And I'm a cuck faggot and I'm a hook-nosed Jew, which.
Observational skills are much to be desired, you know, if that's the conclusion.
I'm not Jewish, and I have a big nose. I'll give you that. But I don't get that. So it's if they present a rational argument and don't just personally attack and say that I'm a retard, I'm a wacko, I'm a nut job, I'm a fraud. If you just look at the evidence and evaluate the evidence, then that's great. But they're not doing that. So they just say, we don't need that. It's just like that one guy who pulled his videos. He pulled his videos about me.
I caught that.
You sent that to me.
Well, hold on. I got to take a little credit for that because he's...
Well, I'm giving you that credit.
Well, but it was in a comment. Do you remember what my comment was?
Oh, I don't.
Do you remember that? Okay, so in his video, it is great. He goes, well, numbers are arbitrary or numbers are subjective. And my comment, and this is one of the many just absurd statements he made throughout his video, but when I heard that, I couldn't help but comment on his video. How are numbers not objective? I think that's what he said. They were non-objective or something along those lines. And I could have said, how are numbers not objective? And the thing is, he's just trying to twist his opinions to say what he wanted to say and criticize who he wanted to criticize. And if he's proud of the work and if he had so much more coming, why did he pull it?
He pulled it.
Maybe because he was just using just a little too much irrationality, and he was just angry or jealous or something. My time won't be wasted figuring that one out. But nonetheless, he took it down, and because
took two of them down,
2 videos down criticizing you. And look, let's not even call them criticisms because a criticism is here's why you're wrong. He didn't. It was just it was.
To be fair, wait. It was pretty irrational. He was trying to...
Oh, I'm sorry. Is cook faggot some sort of valid criticism?
Cuck faggot, if you're an ANCAP, I guess is. But The
oh, that wasn't him. That's right. Yeah.
Right, well, he didn't say that. That was but
What he was saying, strongly, I'm sure.
Yeah, what he was saying in the video was that it is arbitrary. But he had such a myopic view of it because he was trying to compare some tribe that had anybody who had a mustache or beard could be killed and eaten. And that applied to me if I went and had that. Not because there was evidence it did, but because they would carry it out. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa.
We're human because of rationality, not because of the nature taking its course.
But to show how irrational, just use a little analogy. They are trying to say that a piece of paper, a written agreement that is tangible, creates a real-life obligation on me. You're ignoring that. And it's an absurd example to begin with. But the more you start to break it down, you realize how much pot did you smoke before you did that video?
That ain't making me feel bad. I smoke a lot of pot and I can't even get there. It was like, what? Just hook me up, man. I'm trying to get, but
no, when I said pot, I was just I was regretting I said pot.
Well, I mean, I'm just, maybe it is. Maybe it's the good stuff. I mean, but I think I'm getting good stuff.
It's obviously no thought was given into that because they're trying to claim that a real obligation to comply and change your actions and do certain things are created by a written instrument. And the idea that you don't need, they admit that there's no evidence, but then they go one step beyond that. You know, it's like, go sell crazy somewhere else. We're all stocked up. Right. And so they go one step beyond the crazy and say, we don't need evidence. Well, then I can shoot you if you try to enforce that on me. It's called, in lay terms, self-defense. Right. That's why
when they try and prosecute you when you shoot them, they're not going to bring a law in to prove that you killed them, right? You just say you defend yourself against these attackers, and here they are dead, and now they want to take you to court. What are they going to bring in? Are they going to bring in a legal citation? Are they going to say because you were on our borders? Or are they actually going to bring the evidence to prove that you killed somebody?
Yeah, and they'll ignore the territorial jurisdiction issue, of course.
Right.
But it's just...
They're not going to pull legal citation.
When your mind is that shut, there's no other possibility. You're not talking to someone who's rational. That's just... They're not rational on that subject. I'll be clear on that. On that subject, their mind is closed. They're not being rational.
And they're also being incentivized not to be rational, because if they were being rational, over time, they'd have less money to put on the table.
Yeah.
Not instantly, not the morning after. Over the course of years, after doing the right thing.
All right, we have to wrap up this segment. We got more. So there's a lot
more than we bargained for. How about that?
But we're pretty certain we're done. Odin is not going to interfere here anymore. He's certainly not giving them evidence or making it so it's magical that their rules apply. And that's all they are. They're just rules. They're rules written down by regular people. They don't have a conscience apparently, but they're regular people. So we're doing this live at Jackalope 2016. It didn't rain this year, and I know. It's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
It's absolutely beautiful. So
it's really like one of these, Joe. Hawaii, Bacchus Meadow. It's really there, dude. It's more of you guys ought to come out here because it's just it's peaceful, quiet, and I think more of us need to just find more peace, and that way we're able to share it with our fellow neighbors and statists.
Yeah, I think some fellow anarchists are finding some peace right now.
I can smell it.
Wow. But all right, this has been a fun segment. We'll be up next with Adam Kokesh. Again, the No Stay Project and at Bacchus Meadow.
Live from Bacchus Meadow, Jackalope Fest 2016.
Oh, Kokesh will see this. This is going straight
good.
to
That son of a... All right. Well, hey, we got a treat here. Second time on the show, here live at Bacchus Meadow in Arizona. Second time on the show, Adam Kokesh, welcome back. Yes.
Hey, my pleasure.
I've mentioned before here on the No Stay Project that I have not gotten the hate that I got on YouTube when I did that video about you.
Well, it just brings out that much more love from those of us who are motivated by that. It's a sign that you're doing something right. And I know I don't want to overblow my own significance in any way here or jump to conclusions about who's trolling who, but I know that there are deliberate unorganic efforts to troll me that I have seen, where like on YouTube videos, you'll have the same comment in different words, like every hour on the hour for like the first 24 hours it's up. You see like weird waves of dislikes that come like right when a video comes out, but like not for the rest of the history of the video. And a lot of the comments that you see, sometimes they're from like, anyway, we know that the government's investing a lot of money in that, and we know that we have their attention, and that's a good thing.
Well, if you weren't doing something that I want to be careful here. When you start getting to a point where you're actually able to influence social change, that's, and so when they're going to look at someone on YouTube.
Thanks for putting in those words. Like that's like yeah, that's why we do this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I enjoy like about being an activist. Like that's for people like you and I who have been in this long enough to say that we're starting to reap the benefits of having put that time in. And you got 2 decades. I got about almost 1 decade. But it's enough time that you can feel that you get more capable over time, and that you can feel the impact you're having, and you get enough emails from people that say like, you saved my butt, you changed my life, and feel that appreciation. Man, yeah, that you have the power to make change.
Yeah, it's people have called the show and they said, even though I lost, and there wasn't a lot at stake, it was to learn. They learned the prices.
Wait, people lose with your
We have a pretty good. We got a damn good track record though. The 70% things are thrown out. That's true. What people will say.
It's enough to make a lawyer jealous.
Better than any lawyer by far. Like I gotta say, man, I can't say this enough, really, and it's not blowing smoke because I've had a lot of lawyers. And every little civil disobedience thing I do, sometimes it's court appointed or public defenders. Sometimes I have the money. Sometimes some people step up. But really, having a not lawyer has been better than having a lawyer in every time, because like you said just now on stage, that it's about putting people at ease, making the attacks stop. It's about achieving that peace. Like that you're coming at it from the same value system that I have, and that you're communicating with me in a way that lawyers don't even. And I'm always impatient. Like I always wish you could answer the emails like as soon as I send them, because I'm so excited to get your response on something.
Do you have any idea how ironic that statement was just now? I always get that auto reply from him.
From me, I
get a lot of emails and can't respond.
But yours, I'm always on in 24 hours. I have not given a single email of yours left more than 24 hours response.
No, I know.
Well, Adam, what you're saying too reminds me of peace, not appeasement. Lawyers will appease you, but when you have someone is asking the right questions and relentlessly defending you, that does offer a good peace of mind, and that's what lawyers can't offer.
Well, let me ask you this, and this is about championing the Socratic method and rational thought, not me. Okay?
I do a little bit of that in a lower stakes way, yes.
Well, have any of the lawyers, in your experience, were they able to discredit the people who were attacking you and have them admit that they didn't have evidence against you?
No, of course not. Of course not. I mean, there have been a couple, like, I want to say, attempts on that level of dismissal and some things that have succeeded, for petty things like the Jefferson Dance Party. We got a citation for dancing at the Jefferson Memorial. We were supposed to pay a $100 ticket by mail. We said no, we're going to court. We went to court. We just, like, our lawyer was like, they offered us, we'll make it $75. Like, they had us waiting around all morning. All right, it's not $100, it's $75. Then they make us wait another hour. All right, it's $50. I go, all right, I'm not paying the dance tax. $100, let's go to court. And the first thing my lawyer or our lawyer, motion to dismiss, and the judge says yes.
I will point out that it's a damn good thing you know how to fight.
It's the rare times that conventional lawyers do what you do that they succeed in a way that's satisfying. Yeah. But they're still not coming at it as elegantly as you are.
Oh, well, thank you. And I do
challenging all of the elements of the prosecutor's assertion.
Yeah.
And in that case, it was like the most obvious low. We got a ticket for dancing in public at the Jefferson Memorial. Like, really, I'll risk $100.
But just a little side note: if you didn't know how to fight, you could have been hurt pretty damn bad. I mean, you obviously landed like someone who's grappled.
I would have lost $100 and walked away with my tail between my legs.
No, what I'm saying is the way he dropped you.
Oh, if I didn't know how to fall. Yeah, if I was a grandma who just didn't know, I would have snapped my head back and cracked it open on the marble. But I tucked my chin and slapped the ground.
Yeah, I was like, this could have had a much worse.
They gotta like overlay the clip for people who don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'll have to do. I can do that.
I mean, that was 5 years ago.
Yeah, that was about the time. I think it's the first time you were on the show. Was when you start. It was right before you did the Adam vs. the Man.
That was when I had the TV show in DC.
Yeah, it was a week or so before you started.
I'm a TV has-been.
Yeah. Oh. Hey, I did that one. Hey, I have the unique distinction. I think, as far as I have proof of this, though, I am unbookable on the syndicated shows. Unbookable. I had a professional publicist that people donated money to pay. I got the money back. And the deal was...
Did you ask for it back?
No.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want the money back. I wanted the shows. I wanted... the deal was money back guarantee if they didn't get me booked on the top 10 syndicated radio shows. And it had to be all 10.
How much did you pay for that?
It wasn't much. It was like $2,500. I mean, to me, it was a lot.
That's not much. No, that's a good deal for that.
So they gave it back, and they said, just leave us out. We are not interested in promoting you at all. I'm like, okay. It's a good thing, you know. Anyway, I want to get to this. Just, I know you've probably mentioned this before, but I don't have video of this. Tell me the principle. Because obviously this is a matter of principle with you, but I want you to articulate the principle of why you're doing this, and he's doing this knowing that there could be escalation. You've already gone to jail.
I think we've scored an easy victory already here, and I'm really excited to, maybe off the record after this, we're going to get into the next plotting of the next stage of this, the next round of communication. And I've taken loading a shotgun in DC, like, yeah, you have a right to carry a firearm in public, but to rack it and make a video about it, okay, maybe that's not a right that people want to stand up for. And dancing is a really beautiful thing that not my dancing,
not so much,
yeah, right, but as a gesture of civil disobedience to dance. And I think that's why that video went viral and was very popular, and to get body slammed by a cop for dancing. But there's something to me that is even far more righteous and noble to stand up for: the right to live, to own a piece of land, to build a house, to create a homestead of food independence, to be able to feed yourself on land that the government says you own. And I'm willing to put everything on the line to assert that is a fundamental human right.
Why is that a principle so important to you?
It's tied into just the ability to live, to exercise free will, to what makes life. I mean, like what we have under status control. Like we talk about, some of the silly metaphors about it, but in the sense of what is the impact of government on humanity's potential? It is sucking our souls. It is robbing us of our potential. It is taking the quality of life down a whole notch. I'm an optimist. I look at that we are progressing towards a stateless society. And this is a beautiful thing, and I see that this is part of my role in it to take this particular stand. But at a deep level now about like how we see the point we're at historically of modern bureaucratic governments robbing you of these fundamental rights that we don't even largely see the implications of. Like, why are you a debt slave? Why do you have a crappy job? Why do you have a boss that you hate? Why are you working too hard for too little money? It's because you don't have the right as your basic human birthright to claim a piece of land and build a house and achieve food independence, and congratulations, you just retired early, and now your engagement with the world is out of choice, not out of necessity. That is what I want to see restored.
See, and that, I agree, because people will say it's just a traffic ticket. I got a parking ticket. I was doing that study. I wanted people to be able to learn this with low risk. With a parking ticket, if they get out of line, here's the $20, right? And so I got this parking ticket, and he says, it's $35. Why don't you just pay it? Right? I'm doing that a lot today. No, it's a matter of principle, but it's only it does. It's like with Derek J. in the guys in New Hampshire. It's $5. In Phoenix, at Tempe, it was $39. It's not a lot of money, but there it's $5. And it's not a matter of money. And so I don't remember who said it, but I quoted part of it in the book. I can ask him, and I know this question: do you have any principles worth standing up for? Any, right? I mean, do you? I know you get a hell of a lot more hate than I do. You got a bigger audience, but you got to have people.
Well, I'm glad some of it's rubbing off on you.
I hope so. But you got to have people that would say that, because you've done time, which most people not willing to do that. So people, what do you say to people in that situation where they say, is it really worth it for a $15 permit?
Well, it's like what I said here about what scares me, because this all scares me. Like, everything I do is an action, even just like the little shit. Going and talking to strangers. I mean, I'm.
You were in Fallujah?
Yeah, I know, right? But no, like there's a fear in that, and like in getting arrested or putting the property on the line or whatever it is. And I know, in a way that like I try to share with my message in the book Freedom, free at thefreedomline.com, that this is inevitable, that we are in the process of achieving a stateless society. And what scares me more than any of the consequences of my activism is being on my deathbed, hopefully surrounded by a lot of grandkids, and knowing that this is happening, to sit there and say, I watched that happen. As opposed to being able to say, when the time came for me to stand up, I did everything I could so that you could be born on the other side of government, on the other side of statism. And I know with what I do every day that I can say that. That's what motivates me. It's still, it's still a fear, but what I'm able to do is put it in perspective and live rationally, not out of fear.
And live in your principle.
And it's not courage. People look at me and say it's courageous. It's not. Like, it's really not.
Courage is standing up in the face.
It's when you're I have certainty, so it's not courage. Courage is for when you're overwhelmed by the fear. When you have uncertainty, I have certainty in what I do.
And that's good. I have kids, and I think any parent who loves their children, I don't go on a limb here, I want the world to be a better place. I don't want my kids threatened with death because they got stopped by a cop on a traffic stop. That did happen, and I've had my life threatened a few times by Mesa PD. And James, you know who you are. Having empathy, really sucks a lot in a world like this, because the very thought of one of my kids being abused like that. Why? Because they had the audacity to use their brain and question what was being done?
It's worse than that for me, man. I tortured people in Fallujah with the Marine Corps. I helped kill people. I want to make sure that I'm part of the last generation of combat veterans this world ever knows. I don't want to have anybody grow up with that. With the institutions and the propaganda and the evil in the world that will lead good people to do evil things.
Yeah, I didn't know. I knew you were in Fallujah. I didn't know that. Yeah. That's a tough thing to deal with. I'm feeling like that ESPN guy right now. I'm sorry. I just think it's important that people know this is not a hobby. So people, I've had on Reddit when I got banned. One of the best videos, highest rated videos I've had. I got banned by Protect and Serve, and someone made this comment. I can't imagine going through life. He's talking about me, wasting my time on something so delusional. I'm like, I think we're on the same page as far as the principle of do no harm. we love our fellow man. We want to treat others the way we want to be treated. This is something that governs the way we live our lives. So
it's an ethical, consistent life of integrity and conscientiousness is more enjoyable.
yeah, the going along to get along. I mean, I had one lawyer say that no one dictates to him how he lives his life. He said this on the forum. And it irked the hell out of me because you're a lawyer. You have to be a member of the bar. There are rules that are dictated to you. Whether you follow them or not, that's a different issue. You have a driver's license. I'm assuming because he lives in Manhattan. I say what you are is comfortable. What you have done is set aside whatever principle your parents may have taught you, and you live a comfortable life. Now, Calvin can testify. I'm not rich by any.
Even by that analysis, though, if I may, of comfort. What you can point out to anybody in that situation is that there's a deeper level of discomfort that people like you and I don't have to live with.
Yeah. See, I can look my kids in the eye.
Yeah.
And on that deathbed or later in life, what you're talking about, my kids will have a record to say, I may not have done that in that situation, but my dad stuck to his principle. What he taught me as a kid, he actually lived.
Yeah.
And now somebody who may not have kids may not see the value in that, but a lot of us do. I would say that most people, if not all the people here in Bacchus Meadow or Jackalope, see the value in living a principled life.
Yeah.
So people have said to me, why don't you just join the bar and make the same arguments? You can still do the same thing. I'm like, first, no. I'd be disbarred. And I know that because someone I used to work with an attorney. I wrote the paperwork, I set the strategy, and she went and she did her thing. She got disbarred for that. So I know from what I speak, well, that's anecdotal. It didn't involve me, so I know that I have...
And getting a law degree itself is generally a waste of time, just like any higher education degree, unless you want to make that money in that grind, in that system. The way the time is spent and the money you spend on the bullshit in law school, because I just know I've had friends that have gone through law school like that, and it's like, no.
I don't want to argue something I don't believe in.
Yeah,
and that's
you
what
have to and that's what they're teaching you to do.
And you can be disbarred for not doing that. That's your job.
That's generally why I know lawyers that, in my experience, and for people that don't know, it's not just these few highlight points. Because I describe my success as an activist from like winning the lottery 10 times in a row. And if you knew you were going to win the lottery 1 out of 100 times, you'd play a lot of lottery tickets, right? But that's kind of, you don't know all the misses in between, all the not so successful shots that I've taken. And I've actually been arrested over 36 times. In activism. That's not. Wow. I'm pretty sure that's a lot of minor stuff. That's a lot of like arrested for protesting, $100 ticket kind of things during the anti-war movement heyday, especially counting being detained, in talking to cops on the street or things like that. But it's a lot of serious stuff too, up to having my house raided and doing 4 months. But with more men than they sent after Bin Laden. But the lawyers so I am speaking, I'm just establishing my credentials that I've dealt with lawyers a lot, and they don't, because they are tied in the way that you describe, they would be disbarred. They don't even try the high road approach.
Yeah, I'll make this brief because this is your time. I spoke about it on the show. I coached an attorney who was working with somebody, and it was a drug possession. And they found no drugs. It was agreed, no drugs. But they took a large amount of cash. I mean, large amount of cash.
What's it called now? Civil forfeiture?
Yeah.
Just how?
I know.
Newspeak.
They're just trying. It's a weird quirk that they're able to get away with this now.
And they keep it. Oh, they've always been able to do it. It's just more popular now.
It's just more identified, and the numbers are bigger, and there are more people driving around with chunks of cash. But it's civil asset forward. They just, this is how we steal shit from people.
Yeah, and so the kid was just distraught because he needed the money, and the culture he was from, this was brutal. This would never leave him. just the fact he was arrested is enough to ostracize you from the family. It was bad. I really felt bad. I mean, and so I coached. They were going into the prelim the next day. And again, Randy in Idaho did it all on his own. Here I'm coaching an attorney. And I said, if your cross-examination's taking more than 5 minutes, you're doing it wrong and you need to refocus. Okay? You should impeach him in less than 5 minutes. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But no! Do it right.
We need to find a way to convince lawyers to pay you to give seminars.
People that brought that up, there's no interest. But I get things done quickly,
Eventually,
and there's not enough money in that.
We'll work together. We'll grow the market.
Yeah. So
I hope
the next morning,
movement grows, the market grows.
The next morning, and I was so angry at this lawyer. He basically exerted what I believe amounted to mental torture. Knowing he's in a bad situation and just browbeat him. You can't do this. You have to settle. And I said, do the prelim, then try to settle.
Like you said, the lawyers want to negotiate.
Yeah. Just get the leverage first, and then. He talked this kid into a deal, and part of it was signing away his life savings. And he still had a felony. And lawyer wouldn't take my calls. So see, what people... They think I'm just trying to take people's money. One, I don't have any money, but the idea.
And it's better that way, you know. Like this part of this, it's kind of like that. I don't know if you heard my description of like that. What to me is the activist sort of vow of poverty. It's not really that, but living more intelligently with what you consider your financial needs to be happy and healthy and secure. And if you want the universe to conspire to ensure that you always have this, the best thing you do is give your energy back to other people, whether it's investing in businesses or in service and like what you do, or in activism and spreading the message with what I do. You know, like that. I know that, I mean, I live in an RV trailer and I'm building a house, you know, and I've lived in it for 2 years, and I'm going to be very happy at the end of it. And I don't care if it takes me 5 years to build this house, but I know that if I want the world to ensure that even in this situation that my property rights are respected, even if everything that we do in the legal realm fails and we have to, you know, is this going to a Bundy Ranch standoff? Right?
Gosh.
And it would be more like a sit-in, you know? More, I think, if you can get them to back down there, to get them to back down on, yes, you have a right to build a house on your own property. Sorry to turn it back to that. I don't know if you're...
No, because I'm looking at it from a standpoint of we're doing it based on principles. That yes, there's risk involved. There's always risk involved. And just because it doesn't work out doesn't mean we were wrong for standing by our principles. Yeah. And, you know, so the idea that, you know, we're doing, because you get accused of this, probably not as much, but I get accused of just scamming people out of money. You're giving the book away, and most of what I have available is for free on the website. So when I get paid to save
like time... That's just like the 1% of the trolls who will always bring that up. Like, who cares? Like,
I get that more,
you know,
though.
It's like... If your face is somewhere on the internet, you're a narcissist. You know, like, because you have a radio show, you're a narcissist.
That's one I haven't gotten.
No,
I haven't gotten.
You're arrogant you're arrogant because you speak your mind.
No,
You've gotten arrogant before. I know you've gotten that.
I've gotten arrogant for my own network, and we're not going to mention any names. So, but we'll mention it wasn't Ian. Because Ian's great. But I have, I can deal with the criticism. I got a big laugh when I read "cuck faggot." I was like, "Am I in high school?"
Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, I actually had to look it up. But you know, it seems odd to people who have been conditioned to go along, to get along. Like, why would you put comfort over principles? And it's. I mean, I'm very optimistic too. I think it'll probably happen in our lifetime, but it's going to be slow. And it's kind of disheartening when there are so many people that would rather be comfortable than live a principled life. I'm like, the choices you make do affect other people. It's like you live in this vacuum that your choices don't affect. That they do, and it's. Even for what I do, it's easy to convince people of the principle that we're right as far as do no harm. It's getting them to act on it and live their life more consistent with that principle. That's a tough one.
You know, there's the question that I wanted to ask you when you were talking was, have you, and I didn't want to sidetrack or set you up, but now that I've got you on the record here, when you've interacted with all the people in the state, have you ever converted any of them in any way, do you think?
Yes.
Pretty rare?
I've had 5 cops quit.
That's huge.
5 cops
out of how many thousands you've interacted with.
Okay, Adam.
No. I'm just saying that like there's a lot that you that would never say anything. There's a lot that you would never know about.
I know.
There's a lot that you just started with, and like when I go into this, we talk about the lying extortionist David Williams with Yavapai County zoning. I want him to read the book and quit his job more than anything. Like I want, and then have the next guy come in. I want when they talk about there's people spying on us and they're recording everything, but they're probably not listening to shit. But like if there's someone listening to my phone conversations, they got to be switching them out every couple months so they don't get converted. You gotta that's. It's not even what we're doing. It's the way that it touches other people. Like you just said, that it's about the way that it inspires other people. That yes, this is an act of assertion of sovereignty, of ethics, of morality, but that it's not about getting people out of tickets or asserting this right. Even it's about like my big hope with building a house this way is that it is going to create a space for more people to do this and live this way. But it's good to know, because I would be really disheartened if you said no one has ever converted. It would destroy my worldview if you said nope. I've dealt with thousands of cops and they're all the biggest pricks still that I've ever seen walk in the face of the earth. I'd be like, well, this is gonna take a lot longer than we think.
Well,
but
there was Brent in Utah. I won't use his last name. He quit. There was one in Chicago, and I've lost contact with most of them. I did have a prosecutor that people said, why would you shake his hand? Because he's a human. And he has always recommended the minimum, and he says, I may not agree with your ultimate conclusions, but I respect that you treat everyone well, and you're respectful through the whole process. You never yell, you never make personal attacks, and I can respect you. And that's what we want to do.
And you've given him a new perspective on his ethical involvement.
And I'm able to show the double
ethics
standards.
Of his involvement.
I can show him his where he's using an unethical and immoral double standard. And so I had a conversation with that outside of court. I said, would you have just stood there and done what just happened and let it happen if your client was, a private corporation? He said, no. So you get him thinking, why did you do it in there? Do you have any idea how much this is going to damage Mr. So-and-so? Because you stood mute. But I didn't, I didn't berate him. But he has that respect, and he can let other people, they know when I walk in there that I'm not a raving lunatic. We disagree with Mark, okay, fine. When we disagree, but he's not. He seems rational. We agree with him to here. We just can't accept the ultimate conclusion, because if a man's job depends on that conclusion.
And there's another that I think, and I've experienced this a significant amount. When I get arrested, I talk to cops, captive audience, and there's a way that you make them uncomfortable that they respect. There's a way that you get under their skin and prod them and point out, and this is, you do it in a way more relevant, practical way. I do it in a way that is entertaining for YouTube videos primarily, but of drawing out that cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, you mentioned before about bringing out the gun in the room, and so someone I worked with years ago, she passed away, nice woman. I quote her all the time. Under all that paperwork is a gun. So it's not like you meant, they immediately pull the gun. No, it's you. When we ask these questions and when you talk to the police officers, you're bringing out that what they're doing goes against their moral code. And
that is the supposed foundation of the system. They're the good guys.
Yeah, they're the good guys.
And then what we're saying is, oh, really? You're the good guys? Prove it.
Adam, this process you're talking about with the guy who's attacking how you wish he would quit the job and contract his services voluntarily, would you describe this process of rediscovering the value of integrity? Basically taking these people who have devalued it by attacking other people and taking their money or interrupting their lives or destroying their lives ultimately, whichever ones those may be, coming from that mindset and evolving the mindset to more humanistic perspective to where they can rediscover the value of actually having integrity from within and outwardly expressing that by not aggressing against people like yourself who also value integrity and want to live, according to freedom and without hurting other people, live peacefully. It's not a novel idea, but that process is becoming much more of a novel process, especially amongst our statist brothers and sisters.
I think integrity is a great lens of analyzing that. The one that I think of it in usually is morality, and the way I describe the message of freedom itself is that we are calling humanity to a higher standard of ethics, a higher standard of morality, a higher standard of principles in general. And integrity, to me, in a lot of the ways that we apply it in these conversations, just speaks to, can you be consistent? If these are your principles, can you be consistent in those principles, right? Can you maintain that? And when it's reaching out to a statist, and I don't mean a casual voter statist, but an enforcement officer of one kind or another, whether it's a cop or a soldier or a functionary of the court or the bureaucracy in some way that has the gun behind it. I think what Marc does is really more on the level of integrity and just saying, well, you said this, do you mean this? Like, just this is, if this is the ethics behind your system, like, is this...
In computer science, we call that an integrity check.
Yeah, literally an integrity check, a logic check. And I'm getting a sense of that now in this experience, that's really an important way of reaching people, is making the appeal to their own integrity. Because I'm reading a book right now called The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Branden. Great book, highly recommend it, although I'm only about a third of the way through it. Nathaniel Branden, the famous author and speaker on the issues of self-esteem, and husband of Ayn, or partner of Ayn Rand.
We had him on the show.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
Bailed.
How about that?
He bailed fast.
Oh, but
he's still on his journey. He's getting there, but
the integrity, right? No, and the intellectual thing with objectivists. Let's not open that can of worms. But one of the things about self-esteem and integrity is that if you live a life of compromised integrity, whether it's in personal relationships, in friendships, to yourself, with a romantic partner, in your professional life, it's not just that you have a lot of shit you got to remember, but that it is bad for your self-esteem. It is bad for your soul. And one of the things that I've come to appreciate, even in this experience, and putting videos out that describe what we're doing with the homestead, is for myself the value of complete transparency. It's not that I really have nothing to hide, and I get to live that way. I like expectation of privacy, yes, but I don't care. If you ask me a question, if you have a reason, I'm going to give you a straight answer. If I have something to be ashamed of, I should get that out in the open. And when you really embrace that, that's liberating on a whole other level.
To me, I simplify that.
That's integrity.
Yeah, I think it's becoming an adult, and I say that so many people in adult bodies are stunted at 5 years of age, and you've probably experienced it. We've all experienced when you're talking to somebody, and you bring out a contradiction, and you're doing it just by questioning them, and they immediately rage. That's a 5-year-old level of ability to cope.
I want everybody to get this, because anybody can get this experience with any authority figure. And it's the most beautiful thing that you get standing up to unjust authority. And it could be a parent, it could be a teacher, and you've seen it in Hollywood movies and all the classic scenes of someone telling off the evil person in a position of power. But like what you really get, that maybe those scenes can't capture, but that we have gotten to experience, is that you feel that cognitive dissonance being elicited in another person, and even while they're screaming at you, you can feel how they respect you.
They know. David Williams knew he was wrong.
At some level, at least. I don't know. It was scratching the surface with him at first. We're starting.
I'll tell you why. Let me give you the evidence.
Because he's a gun guy. You saw that on his LinkedIn profile?
Yeah,
right?
I did. Before he pulled it.
No, it's just an interesting quirk of his personal story that he I believe his chronology is that he originally was a city zoning something somewhere else. Then he had his own gun business, which I have to assume failed, because then he became a zoning officer again now for Yavapai County.
The reason why I think he
But I hope the gun, having been a gun guy, at least had him in touch with some basic, natural law principles.
Yeah, and I think that's why when he said this was his, and they do this all the time, he was just more dramatic about it. when he said, "Can't you just," right? That told me it was like he was thoroughly discredited.
Yeah.
And please, just meet me. Come on, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I have my boss right here. So that's why I think he did realize. I've had IRS agents, and they were absolutely certain that the laws apply in the Constitution. I said, "Do you have actual proof of that?" "Yes, I do." And they weren't being jackasses about it. And I said, "Really? What specific facts would you rely on?" And he says, "Well, we have the wage reported income." Oh. So at this point, like, the client's like, "Oh, no." And I said, "Really? So your position is the wage reported income proves the Constitution applies to Mr. I'd say Dan?" "Yes, yeah. Oh, how so?" So I get. Is it? Did you speak a little soon when you said you had evidence? I think I did, and that's what. All right. Well, we were here to get some help. So,
and that's the position I feel like we're at now, fortunately, where we get to talk him down. I'm hoping. I'm deferring to Mark here.
Well, I think that. And we'll talk about.
What do you think, Mark? You got the leverage or what?
I think you got good leverage.
We're going to talk about this off the record, and you'll get an update when we have something actual to report.
Yeah.
Because now, in case I don't know if we cover this, but the status hearing, or not the status hearing, excuse me, the hearing, the county citation, like low-level administrative hearing about the citations has been postponed from August 9th to September 14th, which we get to postpone again because I have on the record I've got a tour scheduled. I'm going to be gone through the end of October, so that's kind of nice to say. At least we've gotten away with everything we've gotten away with. They're not going to try to throw fines at us, and they said they would like to seek a resolution without a hearing, and I consider that already a huge victory, and a major step in progress. That they're not just they've realized. I think maybe I hope, and maybe this is the wishful thinking in me as an idealist, but the way that we have put them on the spot and elicited that cognitive dissonance has at least made them realize it's not in their best interest even to go guns blazing to a guy who's just trying to build a house on his own piece of land.
Yeah, I think what works against you is your popularity.
Well, it also works for me.
Well, what it does is it takes the leverage we have, which I think is really good. I mean, I got the chairman,
and it gives them a greater investment in maintaining their credibility by not.
Yeah. See if you can make a deal that keeps it where you can't talk about it.
Well, that's not going to happen. That's impossible.
I think that's what they're looking for.
To enforce a gag order somehow in this process.
I think that's what they have. In their minds, that's what their intention is. Okay, this putz from Long Island really got. David Williams just shouldn't have spoken to this idiot. There's actually,
and now we've got him lying on the record, like contradicting himself, saying that I chose the hearing.
And he didn't. He didn't. I've already gone public. I did that to de-escalate, so because I didn't want him charged criminally. So we took the lesser of the two. So it's not true. I did that. And okay, but I have the IRS.
But you can't even do that on my behalf. And he said that I chose it.
I know.
I didn't choose it.
But I didn't want him going to the county attorney and charging you criminally. I figured
I would have been ready to go.
To wrap up, and I've appreciated your time here. This has been great. I believe that we have the leverage, and that's because of what's happened, and because I spoke to the chairman. Okay, and the chairman said it's way above my pay grade, and even his liaison, whoever it was, we got no clue. They said I should go to the AG. I said, "Can you set that up for me?" Well, no. Well, they're not gonna give me the time of day. They know who I am there. No. Go to the media rep. They tell me to go get. So I think we have the leverage there. So we'll talk later about, when I'm back home, and we'll talk about meeting with, on the phone and discussing how a possible settlement. If it has to be a gag order, that's your choice. I
didn't even think of that as an option, that they would try to put a gag order on me because of zoning issue that like it would be somehow sealed from the record, or that like I couldn't have someone else talk about it, like you know, and it's just
you got to look at
like it's not information that can be contained. Like, can they give you a gag order on it? And
good luck. I mean,
like really?
Well, you see what I mean, if I
get a gag, like I don't want to even say this on the record because I've already said publicly, like I'm willing to kiss the ring if it means I don't submit to inspections, I don't give them any money, and my fundamental right, and I'll even say I'm not putting in a well or a septic system. You know, as long as they don't inspect and they respect that fundamental right that this is really about for me, you know, and then it's replicable, and I can tell other people, hey, you can buy land here and you can do this too.
See,
but if I have to be like,
that's it.
And if you want to do it, go listen to this Marc Stevens podcast, you know, then that's okay with me. I don't know.
That, I think, is the rub, because you have a good audience. They know about things like this. And
okay,
it could
so
be
then
an
you get
influence for
promoted through that for the rest of my life.
They're looking for other people that might be moving into the area that goes, hey, Adam did it.
Yeah. And so they're trying to stop that scenario.
That's my impression that they'll do. They'll say,
well, in that case, they should have granted the motion to quash, because then they could say, oh, we screwed up a technicality this time. Next time we won't. But that's what they're looking for. But then we do another motion to quash with something else.
Well, we did the reconsideration, and because the evidence doesn't appear on the record. You know, the reconsideration we mentioned earlier, the evidence, if you're going to deny a motion to dismiss for a lack of evidence proven jurisdiction, you got to have the evidence, and they didn't do that. I read, he just denied it. But that's my thinking. They'll try to do that because everything goes away. You get to do what you're going to do, and there's no publicity, so that they get 5, 10, 12 other people trying to do the same thing. They may not be trying to do that. They just may feel, hey, we don't have any actual legal
one way
grounds.
or another, we know this racket is not for long of this earth. And if we can put the final nail in the coffin now and say, from now on, at least in Arizona, in unincorporated county land, you have this right, and we have established that, and it just shuts down this racket for them. It just means the whole thing, like, it's really, let's not dance around this. That's what the stakes are with this, essentially, or that they could be. The stakes are that high that if we truly succeed in this particular effort, it means, and it's not like the end of the world, it's not even a major shift, but it's potentially what, in the state of Arizona, a couple hundred bureaucrats out of a job.
It's a start. It's a damn good start. I look,
like 100 lawyers chained at the bottom of the ocean, right?
It's a damn good start. You see, and this is what I see in the bigger picture here. So we'll go not just what you're doing, because you're not doing it just. You're making a point. You're putting the information out there for other people to be inspired to do the same thing. And why you're doing it, because it really, I want to put these people on the stand, not to hurt them, but I want them to realize they're hurting. They're not accusing you of doing anything violent. He's a peaceful guy. He just wants to look. Because I don't.
And that's why the septic system and the well is kind of a thing to say. Like, I will even publicly assert that I am not doing anything that could possibly affect anybody else's use of their land. And to hold myself to that higher standard.
And do it without that permit. I want to be able to, for people to see that not only can the Chief Justice of the Arizona Supreme Court not prove these laws apply, I want the county commissioners on the record not being able to do that. And well, personal motive, but because it empowers other people to do that. Hey, if he can do that, then I can do that. I heard because we can get audio, we can't video it, but people can hear that. I heard one after another the county commissioners not being able to prove that, and if the county commissioner can't, and that empowers other people to keep challenging. Because I want the question to be: if I did things the way you did it, and I forced perfect strangers to give me money, would you consider me a criminal?
They rely on compliance just for the efficiency of their system. At some point, this is the other consideration from them, and we talked about this in bigger activist strategy concepts, like if you just gum up the works enough, if you make it cost them $500 to get $100 out of you, they will go out of business very quickly. Like, that's This is withdrawing consent from the evil of the system. To say, I will not make this easy for you, and if enough of us do this, it all goes away.
We can go through a 256 gig card.
Sorry, how many hours have we been talking now? The sun's lower.
Yeah,
shadows are getting long.
It's still beautiful out, but that is a big thing, and I'm all for nonviolent non-resistance and gumming up the works. And that's why I wish more people in Keene would get those parking tickets. But that's something they don't want other people to see, because if more people resist the way you are, peacefully, non-violently, just show me the evidence and I'll give you what you want, that costs them more money. And we're going to have five supervisors under subpoena. You know, that's gonna take them out of the office for a day. That's gonna disrupt their, So I like the first American Revolution, where they did it non-violently. They kicked all the British authorities out of Massachusetts except for Boston without firing a shot. And what did they do? They shut down the courts. That's what, not a shot fired, by the way. So, and that's what we look to want to do today. Gum up the works.
Satyagraha, Truth Force.
Yeah, just gum up the works, make it more expensive for them, and make it more difficult for them. Because if they had the evidence, would they provide it? Yes, they would.
Of course they would.
Hey, Adam, I appreciate it. Another installment of the No State Project. We may have a couple more bonus segments, but we're live at Bacchus Meadow here in Arizona. It's Jackalope Fest 2016, and Adam Kokesh. And where they get the book?
TheFreedomLine.com.
And definitely check out the YouTube channel. We'll have that linked also. Thanks again.
Hey, yep.
Hey, welcome back to the No State Project. Another segment here at Jackalope 2016 in the beautiful Baca Meadow. Here, oh, I love it. It didn't rain on us. It's a beautiful day. I know the sun's going down, but it's still gorgeous out.
It's been nice here. I've been here since Monday. We got some rain Tuesday, Wednesday, actually Thursday. But it was nothing you could deal with. You just prepare for it. And just like this kind of started as a prepper thing. So if you're in a prepper situation, guess what? It's going to rain on you. So this is an excellent, just way to learn about how to deal with rain.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever complained about it.
No.
I mean, I live in Mesa, Phoenix area, and it doesn't. Now it rains a bit, but we're not used to rain.
Yeah,
and I don't. And I still. Hey, I've been here for all but 2 years, all but 1 year. The second year I wasn't. I love it. This is. If I was going to do a workshop or something in California, I want to do it in Big Bear, because this looks. So if you like Big Bear,
I've heard about it, but yeah, I've heard it's comparable to this area.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. All right, so you've got something.
Well, so I've been at this liberty freedom thing, for a very long time. In fact, my entire life. My father was into it before I was even born, and he didn't get me a social security number. My youngest brothers, he never even got them birth certificates. But anyways, I talk to people about stuff all the time, and one conversation I have with them ultimately is that there is no government. And in fact, you talked about it today, and you said something to the present evidence that you're a government, and basically they can't. From what I gather, they can't produce any evidence they're a government either.
They can't produce any evidence their laws apply. They can't produce any evidence that there's duties of allegiance and protection.
That's right.
But for those listening, watching, we don't get into asking to prove you're a government. You're just making a point. We ask for evidence proving that their constitution and laws apply, just because we're physically in Arizona.
So I had a tax battle with the town of Palmer, and one of the things I did...
Town of what?
Palmer, Massachusetts. And so one of the things that I did a public records request on for some information was what documents they rely on to prove that they're an actual government. And I think I put as prescribed by Article 4, Section 5, or Article 4, Section 4, whatever it says, Republican form of government and Constitution. And they sent me back basically their town charter. And when you open up the town charter, and I've done this for Springfield, Mass, Keene, New Hampshire, Manchester, New Hampshire, many cities in New York State, even Denver, Colorado, because I'm living close to there now. And it says, use Town of Palmer. Town of Palmer, you open up the second page, it says the Town of Palmer, a municipal corporation that calls itself a governmental agency. And what is important is governmental, that the suffix on the end of, the suffix AL on the end of the word means similar to or like. So that's, I don't know.
I got to jump in.
Oh, go ahead, yeah.
Is that the only thing it means? I mean, isn't it of government? Because a municipal corporation is part of a government.
Well, but they don't even call themselves a government anywhere in the document that is their corporate charter, is the town, it's a city charter, town charter. Is that the only thing that the suffix AL means, similar to or like? It could mean more, but I know it means at least that. I guess I'd have to, research that suffix a little more and get into it. I haven't. But the evidence of that I've come across about 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, I found out about this case. And if anybody wants to give you the information to search it, it's a case in Massachusetts where the ACLU did a public records request for the state police terrorism task force to tell them what they have for weapons, how many times they've used them, and how many trainings. I don't remember the details of that, but it was denied.
Right, I remember that.
And then, so long story short, the ACLU ends up getting all the way to the Supreme Court of Massachusetts, and the guy who represented the actual chief of police, or he's a chief legal counsel for the Massachusetts Chief of Police Association, is a lawyer named Jack Collins, who I personally know. I've sold him some hay and hauled horses for him. His granddaughter was in the horses, and he is and this is what really caught my attention, because I knew this guy, and he argued for the state police that the state police are a 9-8. They have a tax identification number beginning with 9-8, which designates a charitable organization, just like
a SWAT team, charitable.
Yeah. All 52 Massachusetts state police divisions are called law enforcement councils. There's 52 law enforcement councils that are called Massachusetts State Police, whether they're Troop E, Troop B, Metro Police, or they're all different kinds of things. So all of them are law enforcement councils. They are all registered with the IRS as charitable organizations. And you can, Google Jack Collins, Massachusetts State Police, ACLU, public records request, and it shows right up like in the first page, and you can read all kinds of articles about this, and there's even some links to the actual court documents that I've looked at. And the Supreme Court agreed with Jack Collins that yes, the Massachusetts State, the ACLU is not going to get a public records request because they are a charitable organization, and they compared them to the American Heart and Lung and Cancer Society, and said that they weren't required to answer a public records request. And I believe there was even, I don't know if it was directly mentioned, but some language of that they basically don't have to follow the Constitution. Now I've had interactions with Massachusetts State Police, and I've demanded every possible way I could to get a signed oath of office with that man's signature on it. I've never seen one.
Well, I know in Arizona we were doing that a lot 20 years ago when they started locking down, where you had to first get if you're doing it with a police officer, there had to be a certain amount of time, so that you had to give all your information. They had to review it. They had to review the file first. They had to let the officer know.
Yeah, it should be public record.
It's called public record request. Yeah. Well, the thing is when you're saying this, what's going in my mind is somebody should challenge them on their pensions, because if you're not government and you're a charitable organization, you're not entitled to a government pension.
That's a good idea. I like that.
I was like, hey, what did my aunt say? Let's cut the ice straight.
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways. If you're not a government agency, okay. If you come to my house, I could shoot you in the face. If you don't, if you're attacking,
sure,
you don't have immunity.
Right.
It's another avenue to go also. So not only do you do something about the pensions, because they shouldn't be getting pensions, but immunity.
Right.
Are they being given immunity as a government employee?
So they absolutely are.
Well, see, and that I think is just it explains what explains that is just you've got so many people. It's such a corrupt system that they're going to do something like that to protect the cops, and they'll take it all the way to the Massachusetts Supreme Court and still have them cover that up.
And I wanted to get this information on your show, or to you, because somebody out there, I'm hoping, is going to be able to use this Massachusetts Supreme Court ruling that Massachusetts said, hey, yes, they're just corporations. They're just municipal corporations. They're not government, and they're not bound by this. So therefore, they shouldn't be able to. And not that government should have any authority to rule me, anyways. But according to your organic, origins of this government, it's supposed to just, protect life, liberty, and property. And, well, we know it's not.
Yeah, but you know that if the Massachusetts Supreme Court made that ruling itself should be sufficient to strip any police officer involved with those agencies, charitable organization, should be enough to strip them of immunity.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
It absolutely it should. It should, but
so the kind of people that listen to your show are going to take this information, I hope, and they're going to be able to put it to some use, or somebody's going to come up with something. Because I listen to your show often. Now I get to listen to it more because Ian did that choose a show thing, I think, on there. So I've been listening to your thing even during the week when it's not broadcasted on LRN.
It did broadcast today.
And we always have our podcast online too. I work hard to keep that up there.
Yeah, and I do appreciate your work, and I'm happy to meet you there.
It should be better than LRN versions too, because we get the source recording. And
it's a call-in listener line number, so I don't burn data.
Oh.
So I farm in northern Colorado, so I'm either working on a shop, so I run it off the data. There's no Wi-Fi in the shop, or I'm out in these fields in a tractor, and I got it hooked up to the radio, or I'm in a truck and I got it hooked up to the radio, and I'm listening to LRN, and I listen to your show. Actually, I often listen to your show twice, just because there's good stuff that you missed the first time, and you need a refresher on.
It's unusual. Someone from the Northeast, you would have trouble, and have to listen to me twice.
No, I understand you.
I know. I was thinking, because I'm big into genealogy. When you mentioned Springfield, I actually have O'Brien cousins in Springfield.
Oh, okay.
I figured it's like, there's like a million of them?
Yeah, a guy named Jonathan O'Brien, he's a DJ on a local radio station in Springfield, and he called me several times wanting to get me on the radio when I was doing my property tax thing, because when they were going to kick me out of my house back in 2012 or 2011.
I heard your calls on Free Talk Live. I know who you are.
Yeah. So Ian came down to my house and with a bunch of the other Keeniacs, and they were supposed to have an eviction that day, and the cops all showed up, and they basically went and parked in the fire department parking lot down the road, and just one cop watched us, and they never did anything, and then 4 or 5 months later, they kicked in my door at 6 o'clock in the morning to kick me out of the house for not paying property taxes. And then Ian goes to the auction where they're auctioning my house off, and he walks in there videoing. He came down. He walks into town hall videoing, and they printed these papers up saying, "Hey, you guys, no videotaping in town hall today." And they ended up paying him $5,000 for arresting him, just not to sue him, because an ACLU lawyer got involved to help Ian out. Which is cool. I mean, a lot of people don't like the ACLU, but they do a lot of good stuff too.
A little bit of pushback, and nothing wrong with that. It may not be everyone's style, but
that's good. Ian's the man.
No, I tell Ian he's one of my heroes. He's a great guy. He really, he's a major push in the liberty movement, and he's done a lot of help. And he's a great, peaceful, loving guy. He don't get loud. He doesn't get belligerent. He's a great guy.
You'd have to really go
a lot of casual courage with him. He doesn't make big of it. He's pretty light about it.
Yep.
Very casually courageous.
Yeah. Good guy.
If you Google my name, Jay Noon, and or Jay Noon and Ian Freeman, or Jay Noon and Free Keen Live, you'll find all the videos they made about my that auction. Where
I remember seeing Ian do that.
Where he got arrested. But in one of the first videos he does, they go to the town hall to ask him why they're trying to take my house, and and if they're going to use violence against me and stuff, and so they go get somebody, and a cop's standing there, and they get the video on the cop, and cop's kind of a chubby boy, and he's just sitting there looking around, and Ian goes, "Hey, how does it feel being a member of the organization that has the exclusive monopoly on violence here in Palmer?" And the guy just kind of just looks at Ian, and he's sitting there with his arms crossed, and Ian goes, "Does it make you feel like you're a gangster?" And the guy just starts this little kid giggle and has to turn around. He can't stop himself. It is so hilarious. And that's actually the same cop that arrested him the next time he showed up.
Wow. Ian's one of those few people that are willing to live up to their principles, knowing that he could go and do. And he's done significant time, as far as I'm concerned.
This is after I let him know he was being recorded. "Will you use the information on that document against me in a court of law?" He says, "Absolutely." Then I said, "I'm going to maintain my right that's protected by the 14th Amendment of the Massachusetts Constitution that says no one can be compelled to furnish evidence against himself, I believe is the wording of that, and is also secured by the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Well, that part was all recorded, so the evidence, the recording was evidence in the courtroom. They didn't. It was a tape, so they didn't. I don't know. They didn't delete it. I thought they deleted it or throw it out. And that was, the judge wouldn't allow the jury to have anything to do with that particular charge of failure to give a license.
Yeah, that sounds like due process.
Yeah, and it was a $50 fine for not giving a cop a license, and but all the other stuff, the big stuff, was done. And the guy's name is Ed Cavari, the prosecutor at Palmer Court at the time, and he, like, at the end of the trial, he goes, "Man, I got to shake your hand." He goes, "You got a big set of balls." He goes, "I can't believe you. You were literally facing like 6 or 7 years in prison, worst case scenario, on all these charges, and I told you just plead guilty and no money." And he's like, I got a lot of respect for you, and that really kind of made me feel good about what I was doing, because a lot of my friends were like, "Dude, I can't believe you're gonna, do that. They're gonna put you away." And I'm like, I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't do nothing wrong.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Doesn't matter. Well, we're running low on time. I appreciate it.
Hey, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, I enjoyed having you, and I wish we had gotten here earlier, but hey, that's,
It's been a day.
It's been a long day. We got a lot of footage. We'll get this posted at markstevens.net. Again, I'm Mark Stevens, author of Government Indicted. The website is markstevens.net. This is a No State Project live from Bacchus Meadow here in Arizona. It's Jackalope Freedom Fest 2016. Well, until next time, salud.